this government cancelled local elections completely illegally. They had no basis for cancelling those elections, and they did it anyway. Said the council decided we're not going to have elections. I think of some banana republic in a third world country saying, hey, the president has decided that we're not going to have elections this year. So on what basis did they say that? What legal or statutory basis? How could
it's not legal and statutory basis here. That's the problem, because that was invitation. As I said before, that was invitation from the government.
There must be some sort of procedural reference they can make. Oh, we've just voted to keep ourselves in power.
Yeah, basically that's what they did, but unfortunately this is what they shouldn't do, and they are not allowed to do, because the county councils where the election was postponed, they don't have a mandate. These people are just ordinary citizens now by law. They are not councillors. Freedom, family and nation, that's what we always follow, our principles. We haven't changed our principles. We haven't changed our leader. We are still the same. We are still here to help people, and I hope people will follow finally, because we are working very, very hard.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
When tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes a duty. So said Thomas Jefferson. Go to bit.ly/lawful tax protest or bit.ly/make war history and find out why it is a criminal offence to pay central government or local government taxes in the UK. And let's make war history. Hey, Meline, thank you so much for making yourself available. You are the General Secretary for the Heritage Party, and welcome again.
Hello, very nice to be here again. Thank you.
Yes. You've been on a few times, and do you just want to say a little bit about the Heritage Party, and then we'll get on to talk about, because you messaged me about something very, very important. I think I saw it on one of your posts on X about how this government cancelled local elections completely illegally. They had no basis for cancelling those elections, and they did it anyway. That's like banana republic stuff. But anyway, let's start with the Heritage Party. Who are they? What do you do? And then we'll get on to the cancelling elections.
Well, who are we? We are the only proper opposition party who is very active, and is, instead of playing on the stage for a public only, it's actually challenging all the issue what we struggle with every day. So we are, we haven't changed. We are here for freedom, family and nation. That's what we always follow, our principles. We haven't changed our principles. We haven't changed our leader. We are still the same. We are still here to help people, and I hope people will follow finally, because we are working very, very hard.
Yes, and the party is led by David Curtin, and from my sense, it's entirely grassroots. And David has been on the right side, well, certainly on the same side as me since the very, very start. So I met David on the anti-lockdown demonstrations. So he was opposed to lockdowns, opposed to masking mandates, opposed to the vaccine mandates. So, people want to have the injections, fine, but to mandate it, no. Opposed to funding the war in Ukraine, opposed to our support for the slaughter in Gaza, opposed to bombing the Yemenis, opposed to the trans agenda. Actually, I'm saying opposed. I'm like for peace, for bodily sovereignty, for pensioners being taken care of, for the rights of parents to home educate, for children being allowed to be children, for greater democratization, for actual real climate science, not one funded and paid for authentic and real racial equality, not the false paradigm of anti-racism created by the Black Lives Matter movement, which I was also opposed to, for border control, because you don't have borders, you don't have a sovereign state, and for democratization and decentralization, and for the preservation of Britain's English culture and heritage.
Absolutely. For proper common sense and a proper, normal, peaceful life, for everyone to just live peacefully and do what they want to do to be happy. Nothing else. Regardless of your background, if you are just a normal, happy person who doesn't want to do any harm to any other person, that's the main principles for everyone, is it? We don't really need more.
Yes, we certainly don't need the state intruding into every single aspect of our lives, including whether we're keeping such dangerous animals such as chickens in our back garden,
Yeah, no, that's terrible. The slaughtering animals is just another. I think this is another issue for a long program, because that is the climate emergency, which we discover definitely not only us, but many people knows already this is a scam. But we have very clear evidence that it is a scam straight from the authorities. So,
absolutely. And just on that, I don't know anyone who's actually set aside what they've been told by the mainstream media and by the government and by schools about the climate change agenda, like put that to one side, because this is what I did. I have in the past, forgive me, Meline, voted green. I'm sorry, right? But at some point, I was like, oh, wait a minute, put that to one side. Then I learned some meteorology myself. How does it work? Oh, it's the sun. Oh, it's the magnetosphere. Oh, it's not CO2, this trace gas. Okay, all right, but we're going to talk about the elections. So we're recording this on Saturday, the 17th of May. We've had the local elections a few weeks ago, and there was, I think, about 7 million people where the local elections were cancelled. They were suspended, and this includes East Sussex, West Sussex, a few other local authorities.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. Quite a lot. That would make massive change if we have an election in those places. No, unfortunately, not.
Yeah. So why did the government cancel them? Like, what's their argument? And how was it illegal?
Straight away, I can point on something what you just said. How the government cancelled this? The government didn't cancel the election. The government didn't cancel the election. The government agreed to cancel the election because the council applied for cancelling the elections. So that's the main thing. The government just can't cancel the election.
So the government didn't cancel the elections. The councils asked for the elections to be cancelled.
Yes, that is absolutely voluntary thing to do. And we have this confirmed by the Housing and Community Department itself, by the McMahon. But yeah, this is an absolutely voluntary thing to do. And the government, of course, invited council to think about postponing the election and reorganize the council. So instead of having the 3 tiers like we have the metro mayors. So this is the preparation for the metro mayors. The cancellation at the moment is the preparation for the metro mayors, which originally the deadline to come with the full program for the reorganization for both councils, the one who postponed the election and the one who had the election, is actually on 24th of November. So the council is supposed to submit proposal how they're going to reorganize their councils to fit the idea of the devolution and have a one big metro mayors.
Okay, which is, I mean, it's say devolution, but it's actually centralization, because it's moving
centralization, yeah.
Moving power into a much larger organization that's then easier to control. So it's not decentralization, it's not devolution.
It's completely the opposite, as you said. And that the decision making power will be in one person's hands, like it's very much in London at the moment. And people will have a far less influence on the councils, practically none, because we already experienced that. And we can challenge this all the time. We're challenging this all the time, even by the elections. We're challenging the structure, because we still can stand for an election, can still try to get into the council. Once this is reorganized and once we have a metro mayors everywhere, that will be impossible. That will be some chosen selected communities representing people on the big scale, as you said, not like a very local residents groups. That will be on the bigger scale under the metro mayors area. I don't know what kind of area that will be, but that will be massive.
Because right now a councillor can be elected on something like 500, 600, 700 votes, right? And then they're part of the local decision-making body. But under a mayoral system, well, that's a little bit like, I suppose, the EU system coming to the...
It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. And this is the same. I said this so many times on your programs as well, and in many other programs. This is exactly the same system what we had in Poland. This is the system what people was fighting with. They was on the streets. We have a Solidarity trying to abolish the system for many, many years. And finally Solidarity, took over for a very short time, because we had a control opposition taking over, unfortunately. But that was what we was fighting with this system. This is exactly the same. We have a metro mayors, they call vojevoda in Poland, but that was the same structure. You have absolutely no influence on any kind of decision. You have no influence on your local life at all under this system. And famous words of Rainer, actually Angela Rainer said, why she's so desperate that's actually is very important what she said. She's going to create the army of the she's going to create the army of the metro mayors, and she's going to handle them as sledgehammers to fight everyone who is trying to stop them go with the devolution, with the planning practically.
Right.
So that says a lot. If we have a metro mayors, then the opposition wouldn't exist. No councillors from district council could object to any kind of developments, and especially no people, just ordinary people. They would have no opportunity to do it.
Wow. Which in my read, my take of it is a complete violation of Parliament's responsibilities and duties as enshrined in the 1689 Bill of Rights Act, that Parliament cannot act to the prejudice of the people, and they're representatives of the people. And if you take away our representation, well, then you're acting in our prejudice. Because, when you say the council decided we're not going to have elections, I think of some banana republic in a third world country saying, hey, the president has decided that we're not going to have elections this year.
Yeah.
What? They don't get to do that. So on what basis did they say that? What legal or statutory basis? How could
it's
they?
Not legal on statutory basis here. That's the problem, because that was invitation. As I said before, that was invitation from the government.
There must be some sort of procedural reference they can make. Oh, we've just decided, we've just voted to keep ourselves in power.
Yeah, basically that's what they did, but unfortunately this is what they shouldn't do, and they are not allowed to do. The government is allowed to postpone election in specific circumstances, like emergency, reorganization, yes, but if this is something, for example, like a bankruptcy, or it really need to be reorganized because people demanding their reorganization, still we're talking about the government could do this, let's say could do this, but still we can challenge this, because as I said, that have to be particular circumstances. But councillors on their own, they can't do it. If they want to apply for reorganization or postponement, they have to go through particular criteria what the council have to. So that's mean consultation, that's mean risk assessment, all this criteria what they normally have to deal with any other proposal. It doesn't matter if this is postponement or climate emergency or whatever. They have particular obligation toward their own residents to go through, which they don't. So it's very interesting, because when you're talking about the postponement and their organization, now it's the situation when the both sides, the government and the council, they're washing their hands off. And we have this proven in our freedom of information, under the Freedom of Information Act question, because they reply to our proper legal challenge on these issues. So on one hand, we have Jim McMahon from the Community and Housing Ministry saying, no, we didn't order the council to postpone the election, or we didn't order, to any kind of reorganization. We invited the councils to consider this, and we invited them. We didn't. I asked the minister if they have any evidence of consultations with people. The answer is no. I will share this later. So we approached the councils and we said, okay, so why did you apply for a postponement? Oh, the government told us to do this. So this is always the same answer. The government told us to do it. The interesting thing is, all the councils what we asked, maybe one is different, and doesn't matter if they postponed or not. The decision about postponing the election, or the decision about doing the organization, came mostly from the cabinet. So the councillors on the district level and on the lower level as well, they wasn't even involved in any kind of voting. The decision was made for them. So that's straight away. It's not only ignoring the resident, but it's ignoring the councillors, the cabinet. The cabinet, of course, is county council. It's mostly built from people who are partly councillors and partly appointed. So these people are not even elected, and they're making decisions for all of us to cancel the election. And these people stop about 6 million people from voting. So they actually place themselves, extend themselves, their existence in the council at the moment, which is illegal, by the way.
Wow. Okay. Now you say it's illegal. How and on what basis is it illegal?
We have several acts which is the one of the basic things what they breaching is the Local Government Act 1972, I think. So that's the criteria when the council have to have the justification for what they're doing. So that have to go through the voting, from the council voting. That have to go any kind of decision like that from the through the consultations with people. That's a serious thing. Reorganizing or cancelling elections is a really serious change in our political structure, local political structure. They can't just do it not asking you, the taxpayer. You know what? We're going to have completely different government now. You're going to pay triple taxes because we said so. So that's what they're doing at the moment, without a question. And this is so that's one act. Another act is the international act, is the Aarhus Act, when the people always have to be involved in decision making, and this is international act and applies to so many other decisions as well.
What international act is this?
It's Aarhus Act. I never know how to actually pronounce that, but it's ARRHUS.
Okay. Aarhus Act, okay.
Yeah, and it's very handy in any kind of challenge, when you want challenging any kind of developments, immigration, anything practically, because that is actually guarantee your citizen involvement in any kind of decision making. So they really need to do consultation with people.
Right, okay. And so then they have to consult with the people. Consultation didn't happen. It was a decision made by a local cabinet, which included appointees, not even by the elected councillors. So these people said, okay, we're not going to have elections.
Yeah, very interesting, because they, as I said, we are a very busy party. We are actually not here just clapping our hands and and shouting, look at us, we are a party. We actually are working and really hard working. So we challenge all the councils around UK practically. We've done so much correspondence and send them legal questions, and the answers are very much the same. It's like a pattern. It's exactly the same from every single council, no matter if they cancel election or not. So the cabinet make decision, and the answer which is happening all the time is like, we didn't have a time to consult anyone. The cabinet make the decision. We didn't have a time.
You can't do that. Well, let me see. I haven't got the time to pay my council tax. Sorry, sorry. It just took up too much time. Yeah. By the way, excuse me. By the way, if there's anything that central government or local government is doing that you object to, whether it's open borders, whether it's the cancellation of local elections, whether it's the money going to the slaughter of people abroad, whether it's the denial of money for the elderly, whether it's for the funding for net zero, go to bit.ly/Lawful Tax Protest to find out how you can legally and lawfully withhold any and all taxes, fees, fines and levies that go to central or local government. bit.ly/Lawful Tax Protest.
Yeah, and also you can email us, because we're actually very deep in this as well at the moment, and we're helping lots of people actually with different kind of different issues, mainly with the developments. Go back to the election postponement. So that's what was repeated all the time in the letters, in the answers from the council. So the district councillors sent us so many answers as well, and they said we haven't been involved. Nobody asked us about our opinion. Some district councillors definitely was against of any postponement. And for example, in my area, the leaders sent letter to the minister, and they said, no, we don't want that. We want an election. But that was after long correspondence. Let's establish one fact, because this is also very important. Heritage Party start challenging the government on the postponement and the local government on the postponement back in November, when we heard about this first time. Nobody else did, because people wasn't actually paying attention to this. That wasn't very official. We know because we follow what is happening in the local government. So that was when we start challenging the government with our proper legal letters. This is important fact, and we need to remember, because some people now taking glory for opposing to this, which they didn't, to the last minute, and that's another issue. Another thing is from the answers what we receive, we actually provide some of the evidence of how illegal it is to the House of Lords, because House of Lords, they create, and that was Baroness Jones, she and few other, I don't really remember the names at the moment, but they issued the fatal note against the postponement. And we actually, our documents, what we gather, we provide them with to support their vote in the House of Lords. Unfortunately, there was defeat. But that was, and by the way, she's from the Green Party. So, there are good people in every party, really.
Yeah.
They are just in the wrong party.
That's right. That happens, right? Or they may be misguided on one or two things, right? But their heart's in the right place. There are people who believe in authentic grassroots democracy. I imagine there's a few even left in the Labour Party, possibly, right? That are WEF blow-ins. Okay, so then I understand that Heritage Party are undertaking legal challenges through the courts. Is that correct?
That's a legal challenges. It's not a court.
Okay.
It's not a court yet, but we actually gather lots of evidence. We're going there. We definitely have particular kind of idea in our heads what we're doing.
Right. Okay. Because what I'm reminded of, Meline, I don't know if you know this, is what's recently happened in Ireland, where migrants, non-Irish citizens, were allowed to vote in local elections, and somebody, some good Irish people, took the government to court and won. That the government was breaking the law. You can't have non-citizens voting because then you don't have a country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, should I get to vote in a Polish election? Should you get to vote in Pakistan? It's like, what?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly my point. If people know the regulation, nothing of these things happen. But why people should know the regulation? We shouldn't become a lawyer. We should live normal life and not worry about the things.
Yeah. We should
but
count
because
on those that are elected or appointed to represent us to actually represent us and not steal from us.
But it's impossible because I'm sending these people. I'm actually sending the councillors, the county councils. I'm sending them proper quotes from legal side. Acts, legislation, law. Everything what is possible, and they're showing their obligation, what they have as a councillors. And the answer is like, you are wrong. No, I am not. I am just showing you what what actually the law look like.
Meline, that it's not just councils. I mentioned to you before we started recording that I use the bit.ly/lawful tax protest process to not pay some capital gains tax. I told HMRC how much I owed them, and I said, I'm not paying unless you can prove that you're not violating the International Criminal Court Act or the Terrorism Act, and I gave them the exact provisions. They kept coming back to me and said, look, you have to pay. You have to pay by law. Right, I want to do the right thing, I said. I want to pay by law, but look what these statutes say.
Yeah.
I can't pay you, right? And they just said, oh, you just have to pay. And not once did they threaten to take me to court or anything. And I used the trust process that you can have this money provided you can demonstrate full compliance with the law, in particular these statutes. And they just never did. And not once did they threaten to take me to court because they're just breaking the law. And for people, we got to do what we can, how we can, whatever is peaceful and lawful and legal and ethical to oppose the tyranny that's rolling out. The tyranny of the home education bill, the tyranny of the assisted murder bill, the tyranny of net zero, and destroying our food supply and farming so that we get to eat bugs. No.
Yeah, we have to say no to everything, really, and simple as that. So, say no, and it's leading us to the position of the councils, which they postponed the election, that they didn't have election. That's the easiest way to start saying no, actually, because the law is definitely on the people's side, and it's just more than obvious. Because the county councils, where the election was postponed, they just end their mandate, their term. They don't have a mandate. These people are just ordinary citizens now by law. They are not councillors. So at the moment after the 2nd May, when the term ended, people should demand the district councils now to stop forwarding any money to the county councils. And also, county councils shouldn't be involved with any decisions because these people are nobodies, They're just normal citizens. They don't have any kind of mandate.
So, for example, East Sussex, West Sussex Council, Essex Council, Surrey Council, I think there's a few others. So those councillors don't have any decision-making powers anymore.
They don't, and also, they're taking the money. They are on the salaries. Why? This is money laundering. I'm sorry. People are nobodies.
Well, there must be something in there in terms of the Fraud Act, misrepresentation.
Yeah.
So what's it? The malfeasance in public office.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You're not allowed to do stuff in public office which is illegal. So malfeasance in public office, Fraud Act.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm thinking
It's
about?
much more.
I'm sure those are the ones that come to mind, right? Straight away. I'm sure you know more because you've been digging into this, right? And so there's all the stuff that the Heritage Party are doing, but this doesn't mean that people who maybe aren't connected to the Heritage Party, perhaps in other parties or no parties, doesn't mean you can't do something yourself. You can write to the councillors, turn up at the meetings and say, listen, where is your mandate? Because you are stealing from us. You're claiming
Absolutely.
expenses and you're not a councillor. Your mandate is over. Now, which statute is that? Do you have that exact provision to hand?
These people, where the postponement happen, as you said, they don't, even if they are not connected with Heritage Party, it doesn't really matter, because we're helping people who are not our members, and we actually collaborated with lots of people in different parts of UK who are not our members.
Yes.
They're not. They want to be apolitical, and that's not the goal. The goal is actually to reverse all the damage and restore democracy, and not stop being so complicit to something what is crime practically. People need to realize. So what everyone could do in this case is put the pressure on the district council. This is the first thing, because that's the district council have an obligation to do it. They are obligated to stop this. They can't just forward money to some nobodies, because as you quote so many breaches what they're doing by acting like that yourself. But they can't. It's a money laundering. They have to actually say to the county council, we're not collaborating with you anymore, because we are here legally and you are not. You are nobodies.
And what about representations to the police for fraud?
Yeah, I think that's possible. I haven't checked this area, but I will, because absolutely. They don't. They really don't have a mandate. They don't. And all the officers who are working there, who any kind of planning permission, the development, big developments, what county council are involved is, that should be stopped at the moment as well. And that's, funny enough, that applies for the county council when the election did happen as well. Because when we have the new councillors coming, they have the kind of training, and for some reason they think, again, we see this from our freedom of information applies, we see that they've been trained, that they taking over the position along with all the decision was made before to continue. That's not their duty. Their duty is actually to have a look and say, oh, that I don't like this. Maybe people wasn't consulted on that, so we should actually stop this project and consult this with people. So that's the duty of the new councillors, and they're not doing this. So they continue the things what the previous councillors done, again, without any justification. I know this sounds like a very, very complicated thing, but it's not.
No, but I don't think it does. I can break it down. It's really, really simple. The law is elections have to be held after every 5 years.
Every 4 years.
Every 4 years, local elections.
Yeah,
they can only be cancelled under certain conditions, or suspended under certain conditions. Those conditions weren't met this time round, and they've just been suspended.
Yeah.
So the councils, these elections were suspended illegally.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because it didn't fulfill the particular requirements, the legal requirements. So the council wasn't bankrupting. The council, I don't know, that they didn't have a war, local war or anything.
Didn't do a consultation.
Yeah, so
asked people took it upon themselves. And now what they're going to do is while they're in position, while they're pretending to be councillors,
pretending to be
councillors, which is there must be something about impersonating an elected official being right. I can't turn up at the House of Parliament and say, "Listen, I'm an MP."
That's it. Yeah,
right.
That's very much the same. That's what they're doing. Yeah.
So then they're now going to put another structure in place that's going to embed the disenfranchisement of the local population.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's mind blowing, honestly. It's you just think how you can even get to this position,
Wow.
And the problem is when we councillors, and some of the councillors, they realize this now after exchange the correspondence for months and months. They start realizing what's going on. The district council realize they are on the edges of being pushed to the completely be left behind and never exist anymore, because they want to get rid of the district councils. They want to get rid of the lowest tiers of councils, so that under the Metro Mayor. So the district council realized nobody asked us about anything. So
are they on your side, or are they neutral, or ignoring it?
that's what we're trying to build up at the moment, some kind of relationship between the residents and the district council, because the residents obviously don't trust the councils at all. It's very few people who trust their councils. But again, in every single councils, they are good councillors as well, but they never have a voice. The problem is why you never have a voice. Why you never have a voice? Because you, as a councillor, never pay attention to the regulation, because that's what they told you don't have a voice. And the problem becomes here in the very low level of the council, that they just presume straight away that they have a county council over their heads, and the answer is always, the government told us to do it. The government told us to do it.
No,
So from the beginning, they come in with this kind of approach, like we have to. We don't have.
Well, isn't that I was just following orders?
Yeah,
I was just following orders. Okay, what about suing or prosecution against individual councillors?
that's exactly the way to do it. Yeah, because they are responsible, and that's what the councillors now realizing. Even if they don't stop the county council at the moment, that's actually it's quite bad thing to do, just ignoring the fact that this councillor is staying there, because the duty of the councillor in the district position is to stop them, because as I said, these people are nobodies. Okay. So that's their obligation, so we can sue them.
Yeah, I'm talking about citizens, actual citizens. How could they do that? Now I'm going to ask something that you may not know about, that may not apply in the UK, because I know in America there are councillors have to have bonds or something like that, or they have to be insured in a certain way. I don't know if that applies here, because if there is something like that, then, well, they're breaking the terms of those bonds.
They have an obligation, legal obligation. It's different. To some extent, it's similar, yeah, but it's different. This is our constitution. They have a particular obligation as a councillor. This is individual responsibility for decision making in everything.
Okay, and do they take oaths of office?
Say again?
Do they take oaths of office as a councillor?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so they're in violation of their oath.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, Meline.
I'm going to send you all these things, because honestly, people just should say no. Okay. What can I say? It's just black and white. If you just search for any kind of legislation, any kind of regulation, any kind of law which apply to the local government, the central government, the answers are there. And the problem is, if you approach the council, as I said, if you approach the council and tell them something like, look, you really have a right to say no. No. Yes, you do. You do have a right to say no.
Well, there are some people, it doesn't take a lot of activists. It doesn't take the entire population of a ward or something. It could be some people going to council meetings, raising this issue, speaking up and saying, on what basis are you here as a councillor? Because you violated the Local Government Act. You're in violation of that. There is no council meeting. On what basis are you here?
Yeah, they have the rights to establish. They are practically untouchable as an institution. That's what they think. They have the rights to establish their own policies, and they establishing their own law. But it's not working like that. They think soon when they said that's our policy, they forgetting this is a policy. This is a policy still.
Policy doesn't.
So this is a big
legislation.
No,
which doesn't.
That's exactly the point.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Meline, anything else you want to let us know about this that we haven't covered?
I think there's quite a few things about this, the reorganization and postponement. The most important thing is we have to stop the reorganization, because this is the postponement is a part of the reorganization, and that is going to change our system completely. And everything what we're talking about the legal possibilities we have on our side as a resident, we can actually challenge them, we can stop them, we can make sure that we have a democratic government. This is going to stop if we allow them to go this step further with their organization. This is going to be the same system like is in London, the same system like was in Poland, when the people not going to have any rights to influence the local governments at all, and that will be only selected community who will be in charge of representing people, but that will be selected community, not the real ones. That's again is on the government pages. That's part of devolution. So it's not like a just local bunch of people trying to say what is good for the locals. That would be more like a global involvement of global NGOs.
Appointees, elected representatives.
So the most important thing, I really want to say one thing. The most important thing is it's now to try to talk to the district councils. The only way to act at the moment is to make sure that our district council stays, and instead that's what we're going to propose to several areas in UK. The district council should stay, and the county council should be abolished, and that will be a proper devolution, because the district council is the council which is close to people, not the county council. The county council is the big percentage of people, they are appointees and employees on the salaries, and that's the place when the money goes, the biggest part of our council taxes. So if we're talking about reorganization, let's do proposal to the community and housing ministry the other way around. Leave our districts, abolish the county councils.
Yeah.
And that's what people should do. Call a referendum and demand to abolish the county councils.
Yeah, and I would modify, without arguing against you, I'd modify that a little bit, right? That people should they should protest in whatever form works for them. Like we should all do something. So whether it's going to bit.ly/lawful tax protest, deprive them of money, you got more money in your pocket to pay for the cost of living crisis that this government is creating, whether it's joining the Heritage Party or supporting them in some way, or whether it's if you're already involved in a party, getting that party involved in this process, whether it's acting privately as an individual, going to district council and county council, whatever it is, do something. Unite with others and do something, because they are out to destroy our livelihoods and our lives, and we're not going to let them.
Yeah, but I'm going back to my county council argument. If we don't allow the reorganization, we will be allowed to do exactly what you're just saying. But if we allow the reorganization to happen, we're not going to have any possibility to protest about anything. Okay,
well, then
that will be very much like the system in Poland. That will be then we will need a proper revolution.
Yeah. Okay, all right, Meline, thank you so much. So great having you on. Please do come back on again. Don't take so long next time, right?
Sorry.
No problem at all. And just to be clear, I'm not a member of the Heritage Party. I'm actually not a member of any party, but I support the same principles of liberty, equality, peace, and genuine and stay out of people's lives unnecessarily. Yeah. Okay, so Meline, thank you. I'll have the links to the Heritage Party. Go and join the Heritage Party. Go to bit.ly/lawful tax protest and do something. This is Rich and Meline signing out. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.